Simon Williams is a microbiologist at Columbia University and the University of Western Australia. He and his colleagues trapped more than 400 mice in apartment building basements in Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. They took swabs of the mice's rear ends, gathered feces from the traps, and subjected both to a battery of genetic tests. The mice harbored an array of disease-causing bacteria, like Shigella, Clostridium difficile, Salmonella. They also carried a suite of antibiotic resistance genes and viruses associated with insects, dogs, chickens, and pigs. Mice from a Chelsea apartment building had the most pig virus, perhaps, the scientists say, because they live near the meatpacking district, which used to have pork processing facilities before fashionable nightclubs took over. So 2 decades later, what's changed? It's now widely recognized that just 20% of health outcomes are tied to medical care, whereas up to 70% are tied to healthy behaviors and what's called the social determinants of health, basically, everything that happens to us for that vast majority of time when we're not in the doctor's office or the hospital. Healthcare executives now routinely remind us that our zip code matters more than our genetic code, and one healthcare publication even recently had the audacity to describe the social determinants of health as the feel-good buzzword of the year. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My theme for this session is convergence, technology change and business practice. This is somewhat dear to my heart, in that I have spent much of the last 15 years involved in various aspects of technology and their impact on business, across a broad spectrum, from applications of signal processing in manufacture right through to the use of utilization data and diary applications, to improve the time utilization of the sales force. I'm a big fan of gap years. I took one myself, so I'm probably biased. I think that if you've got something you want to do in the year before you come to university, that you should do it, and a lot of students who want to study a biology degree actually want to go off and travel and perhaps work on a conservation project, and of course that's all very good. It will contribute towards your degree and your preparation for that, and then when you come to us you'll be ready for your studies. So if there's something you really want to do, then my advice is to go for it. Almost everyone has heard of the London Stock Exchange, but, relatively, few know anything about the London Metal and Commodity Exchanges, yet these markets have a greater influence on world economies because they set global prices for some of the essential raw materials for industry and food manufacture. The LME provides 3 basic services to the world's non-ferrous metal trade. First, it is a market where large or small quantities of metal of a guaranteed minimum standard can be bought and sold on specific trading days. Second, it acts as a barometer of world metal prices. And third, it is a hedging medium, that is, it can help traders get some protection from price fluctuations that occur for economic, political, or financial reasons. The spinal cord, the link between the brain and the body, is a band of nervous tissue about the thickness of your little finger that runs through the backbone. Nerve cells called motor neurons convey electric impulses that travel from the brain to the spinal cord, branching off at the appropriate point and passing to the various parts of the body. Similarly, sensory neurons transmit messages from organs and tissues via the spinal cord to the brain. But the spinal cord also functions without the brain having to intervene. It alone controls those actions called spinal reflexes that need to be carried out very fast in response to danger. Privacy and the right to privacy are increasingly becoming hot topics in the media, which is a touch ironic, given that it is often the media that is responsible for invasion of privacy. This is not just about those whose careers put them in the public eye, but ordinary people who through no fault of their own have come to public notice because of some event that has attracted the attention of the media. It might be that a member of their family has been imprisoned for some crime, rightfully or wrongfully, or perhaps they are the victims of some natural disaster. Some people argue that those who have chosen to be in the public sphere and have teams of public relations people to make sure they get as much public attention as possible, actors, rock stars, politicians and the like, have given up their right to privacy and get everything they deserve. As a consumer, you're probably consuming imports. If we have a trade war and we start slapping tariffs on all of those imports, the bill is going to be higher. If the world relies so much on trade, what is a trade war and why do countries get caught up in them in the first place? That's one of the things that makes frogs are amphibians. Different from other vertebrates is that they have special glands that produce defensive compounds, mostly toxins. If something tries to bite them, they get the toxin in their mouth, and then what happens to the predator is that their muscles stop working, so they can't bite, and then they stop breathing. So some of them are really dangerous actually. And most of the ones that are dangerous are out in the daytime, so they're flaunting their colors. They have very bright either reds or blues for oranges. And they're basically showing off their poisonousness in a sense. Is that a word? Jack Nicholson, playing the crazed caretaker in The Shining, makes me reach for a blanket. Now a study finds that people we find, well, creepy can actually make us feel colder. The research will be published in the journal Psychological Science. Researchers interviewed 40 college undergraduates. During each interaction, the experimenter was either chummy with the student or very stiff and professional. The investigator also alternated between mimicking students' posture, a signal of rapport, and not doing anything at all. Participants then completed a questionnaire designed to find out how hot or cold they felt. The results showed that the subjects actually felt colder when the investigator acted inappropriately or sent mixed signals. The researchers conjecture that because the brain tries to interpret social cues and purely physical ones simultaneously, people unconsciously associate icy stares and chilly interactions with actual physical coldness. So the next time you have to visit your doctor with the creepy receptionist, bring a sweater.